Hello and welcome to Let's Dance with Charlotte Elizabeth. That's me. So, this podcast is going to cover everything from dance, health, fitness. I will include how to prepare for your first dance for your wedding or using that kind of scenario for special occasions. There will be planning hen parties and ideas for planning hen parties, but the main focus of this podcast is dance. I am the owner of Feel the Beats UK, and I'm going to get you all moving. So let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome back. So today's episode is a little bit different. Normally, I try and give tips or value within the episodes, linking back to obviously the services that I offer, the different couples that I may have worked with, or the clients that I've worked with, and my own story. But today I'm actually going to spotlight a service, and I'm going to spatter these throughout the podcast moving forward so that you see that you can actually work with me and get a bit more detail on how. So today's spotlight is Let's Dance. Now, I know the podcast is called Let's Dance with Charlotte Elizabeth, but I have decided to call my hen party, birthday party, my themed dance class, Let's Dance, because for a period, I'd put it out as an offer and I'd put it out as Let's Dance. It's a 90-minute themed dance class. Pick the theme, I choose the songs, I turn up and I teach it. And I was like, you know what? That is essentially the hen parties. And it works for birthdays. Just because at like a ladies' night or a team building or part of a business event, you might that someone might pick a mini, they might have a theme for their event. Go, actually, we could do with like a little thing. So rather than me having, oh, well, here's my hen parties and I've brought it all into one. I am simplifying everything. So themed dance parties, let's dance. So they are 90 minutes usually because it's allowed time for coming in, having a bit of an introduction of who I am, etc. Because 9 times out of 10, I've spoken to the host, but I won't have ever spoken to the other people. So they need to kind of get a little bit of my vibe before we get going. And for me to check whether there's any injuries, certainly in the case of hen parties, if there's any pregnancies, you'd be surprised that there have been a number of things. So it's just my way of protecting myself that I know, and I can very quickly go, right, I then need to adapt, and I can do it on the spot. It's what happens when you've got 20 plus years experience. You can adapt on the spot when someone goes, I've got this. Yep, fine. Do this, this, and this. Most people know their limits and can adapt, but it helps if I know, because then without singling them out, I've already adapted the choreography. Or if there's a bit that I literally can't change, so a jumpy-ish section, I can just turn and say, just be really careful of your knees. Kind of, you need to not do that bit or step it, fine. If you need my help, holler. Kind of, it's not singling them out, but it's also showing them that I've done my best to include them and adapt to protect whatever injury, or certainly in the case of pregnancies, they've got going on. Obviously, the last thing baby wants is being bounced up and down. So we do that. Then we do a little bit of a warm up just to get your bodies ready. And then we go into the routine. So I break it down step by step. I will repeat a section as many times as we need to. And then there might come to a point where I go, right, let's move on and we can come back to it. Because if you keep going over the same bit, you're going to keep making the same errors. Your brain's going to keep getting confused. But sometimes letting it ponder whilst you're learning the next bit, you suddenly realize you know more than you think. So they're 90 minutes. You've picked your theme. So we'll go with line dancing because that still seems to be the really popular theme at the moment. So you have either told me particular songs that you want. So some of my recent ones, they have picked Luke Combs, they've picked Ed Sheeran, they've picked Shania Twain. They've picked a mixture. Or they have simply said, we want line dancing. And I've got free reign, which is great because then I have to ask, what is the age range of your group so that I can make sure that if they have got under 18s, I'm not putting any line dancing songs where the words are about sex and all that. Like, I want to be PC. So, and we break it down. So I start and we do it without turning because line dancing, if you've seen the videos online, has a lot of rotations. You 9 times out of 10 you do it in a square. So we start it flat. Just do it without the directions. Some routines, like an Ed Sheeran one that I've got, has rotations within it, but we can still do it flat. We can keep those bits of rotations, but then still just keep doing it facing the one way. If they've hired a gym, they've got mirrors. If they haven't, it means that it gives them time to learn it with me in front before we then change direction and I'm suddenly at the side of them and they're like, ah, panic. Our brain gets confused when we've learnt it one way and then we go, right, your front is now facing the window. And you're like, what? Brain, so it takes the brain a little time. So we learn it, we get the moves, we practice it with the music, we have a giggle, we have a break. We then do it all again, working out how we get into the transition to face the other way. And then we keep repeating that with the music. We have a giggle when our brains have suddenly gone, oh, what? We're now facing the back and you're behind us. Now what? I'm usually shouting the words out or the moves out at the time. So I'm normally going, and grapevine, heel dig, cross, box, step, and a step, turn, step, change your direction. Like I'm doing all of that where I can. Or I plonk myself in the middle of the group so that everyone's got visibility of me. But they're a great laugh because line dancing is just quite fun. As simple as it sounds, it can be quite complicated. And if I've been given free reign on the songs, because most songs, if they've picked a particular song, it's because they know there's already a dance that exists. I do my best to learn that dance, but without adaptions in my brain ready for those that go, I've got a knee injury, I've got a foot, I've got a this, I can adapt. So if I've been given free reign and it's just, we want line dancing, yes, my little squirrel kind of gets all excited because I can put some really, really simple ones in where the only complication is the change of direction. Or I can add a bit of complicated, like an Ed Sheeran, that has some transitions as well as a change of direction. Kind of head to my socials and you'll see there's a bit of a swirly world goes on. So I try and do a mixture so that then we've got a mix of abilities, gives everyone a bit of a challenge, but then they've got some really simple ones that they can do. So that everyone feels by the end of it, oh my God, I've achieved something. And my biggest thing that I always say to every group before I start is, I am not concerned or worried about you getting this 100% perfect because you've got an hour and a half. All I'm concerned with is you having fun. If you've got a beaming smile on your face by the end of it, I know we've had a laugh throughout. I've done my job. If you turn around to me at the end and go, actually, we really want to be able to perfect this and do it at, I don't know, the wedding, then we can talk about booking in an extra session. And it is something I've been considering because I've had groups in the past where they've kind of joked of, oh, I'd love to do this at the wedding. And I've given them the soundtrack and they've recorded the day. Because by the end of the day, I try and make sure they can do it without me in the video. Sometimes we have to, and that's fine. And they use that to practice with. And sometimes I've had groups where they're like, could you just do us a breakdown video that we can learn from? Yep, fine. And the challenge for me trying to do an upsell is 9 times out of 10, the groups aren't local to where they've booked. For instance, I get a lot of hen party groups booking Cheltenham because it, with where it is on the M5, it is really great for anyone coming north, for anyone coming up from the south, kind of because it's Midlands, it's within like a 2 hour drive. So they pick these fairly Midland areas because it's suitable. But when they don't live in the Midlands, trying to book an extra session to perfect things, bit of a logistical nightmare. And yes, we've got the wonderful power of Zoom and virtual. You've still got the logistics of them having space in their home to learn. But it's something I'm pondering and exploring of how can I make that work. Or maybe they're just a separate, it's a separate service potentially, um, where I can put it out to more Midlands groups of would you love to learn a themed routine to surprise on the day? It doesn't have to be part of a hen party or anything then. It could just be a bridal group flash mob surprise. So it's something I'm pondering. But back to the point of the podcast, Let's Dance is really simply you pick a theme, we discuss your song choices, we work out venue. So whether it's, and you are responsible for the venue, I can assist you in finding venue, but venue hire is your responsibility. If you need me to book the venue hire, then that's a case by case discussion, because it'll put your fee up. So a lot of people, so for like the hen parties, for instance, they've booked an Airbnb property. And if the weather's nice, we get to go outside. If the weather's not so nice, you are struggling with numbers, space, etc. But some of them are perfect and they've got lots of space. So they do that. Or they've booked the Airbnb venue, but then they go and hire a pub function room or a gym studio or somewhere because they know that the Airbnb, if you haven't got the weather, you're a bit stuck on space. So I then come to you, we teach, we have fun, usually laughing at my expense because I've forgotten my own choreography or I've changed the choreography that I'd planned and I can't remember what I changed it to. So we have a laugh and you have your memories. We perfect it to a point that we can dance it without me saying anything. So I'm still dancing with you, but I'm not calling things out unless I spot things and I call out to give you guidance. There might be a timing thing where I'm like, right, 5, 6, 7, 8, and go. And then we keep perfecting to the point that you don't need me in front and I can film you. Occasionally, I end up dancing with you. The one thing I really need to get better at is getting footage of me teaching the hen parties or these classes to help promote people and see what they're actually like. So that is something that I'm working on because I can sit and talk here all day about how incredible the Let's Dance package is, but you need to see it. I know you absolutely need to see it. There are a few examples on my socials, but I know I need to build. But they're tricky because they're such personal experiences. It's the same as first dance lessons. They're such personal experiences that not everyone wants that online. I just need to remember that I need to ask the question because unless I ask the question, I don't know. And assuming that people don't want it online is wrong. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a flavour of Let's Dance. I'd love to know what theme you would have. I've done some very bizarre themes, but I've done all the usual ones. So I've done 90s, 80s. I've done a pink one. I've done line dancing is definitely very popular. Spice Girls, salsa, cheerleading, Charleston slash jive. What else has there been? I had a Les Mis one because the bride loved Les Mis and was her favourite musical. It's not really a dancing musical. I've done Hairspray. I've done Grease. I'm trying to think of all the different props that I've had at any one time. I've done feather boas to do burlesque. I don't wear the feather boa because they irritate my skin, but we've had feather boas for burlesque. Yeah, the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless, and that's why it's not just a hen party thing. They are for anything. So have a fantastic rest of your day, evening. I'll see you the next time. But yeah, I would love to know if you could have any theme, what would that be? What would that be? Because there may be a theme that I've never thought of, and that there's someone just waiting for me to do that theme. So what would that theme be?